Well, to discuss this matter further, we're joined by political analyst Professor Sipho Seepe in the studio. Very good morning to you, Professor. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning.
Well, can you first of all confirm if the Constitutional Court has actually given a ruling on the UDM's application? The application was made yesterday.
No, it has not done so. I mean, any Constitutional Court judgment would get a bigger coverage in this country because it's a precedent setting, but also it sets a new thinking around a number of issues. But also in your own news, you do say that the Speaker says they will oppose that. So effectively, that suggests that the process has not been concluded. So on that part, we can actually settle that there has not been any pronouncement by the court, by the Chief Justice on the matter, because it would be too important for it to be ignored, and I think all the media would be having that.
Well, voting procedures in the Assembly are determined by the Constitution as well as the rules of the Assembly. Can a no-confidence election be by secret ballot, I mean, in your knowledge of the Constitution?
Well, at the moment, the Speaker has made it very clear that the rules do not provide for that, and the Constitution is actually silent on that matter. It has not said it cannot be done. And what the opposition parties have been trying to do is to try to take advantage of what they see are the ructions within the ruling party. But what should also be very clear is that the parties that ask the ANC to do what it's supposed to do are not asking its members to do the same. There's never been a position by the DA where you found the DA divided. There's never been a position within the EFF where they found the EFF divided. There's never been a position where they cope and all other parties. So the notion of towing the party line is something that parties expect. But what is interesting is that they expect what the ANC members should do, what they themselves will not do within their own parties. So this is more political expediency. They see a party that appears to be a door with itself, and they're saying, let's take advantage. But I also think it's an element of political dishonesty to have members going there saying, this is the position of the party, and then voting differently. I think what we should be asking is people to take a stand that if you do not agree with something, take that position. I mean, we've seen others today, like Ben Turok, encouraging members to vote according to their conscience. That's well and good. But when he was in Parliament, he did not do so. When there was a moment when he was supposed to do, he suddenly had a challenge with his biology and rushing to the bathroom. But the point is that is even though he may not have voted, that is dishonest. If you hold a particular view, we expect that if you are going to claim high political morality, to take a position that this is my position. But also people must also remember that they are voted in through the party list system. So you are also not being honest about your own party. So I think what you see here is both political dishonesty that is being encouraged. And it will be said if the very court that talks about morality were to encourage a behavior like that. And I'm simply saying that in a different system, it may be possible. But I also want to have people who are willing to stand to say, this is my position, and I'm going to vote I'm going to follow my conscience, but you're not going to follow your conscience Nicodemously, while you are hiding and nobody does not know that. But what it means that you are also saying, I'm more concerned about my material being than what the Holomisa talks about, that people must put South Africa first. If you put South Africa first, what it also means that you will say, I'm not going to care a damn about the benefits that I get. But also what we also know is what members of the ANC are saying, that they've been approached. There's money that is also circulating to say you'll be protected. So again, there's that element again of dishonesty that comes into our politics. I think parties must actually talk about whether they subscribe to the system that we have and they stick consistently with it, or whether they're going to encourage this type of habit where people can pretend to be holding certain positions while they are holding others.
Well, you know, yesterday when speaking to Mr. Holomisa, he mentioned that one of the reasons behind wanting a secret ballot is to protect members of parliament of the ANC who, according to him, would be probably scared or, you know, not confident enough to vote against the party in an open ballot process. I mean, do you think that this means that some members of parliament would rather perhaps resign than vote against the party, or would they be willing to speak out openly, like you say, taking their stand against the party?
Well, I mean, those people who are not happy with their own party, some of them do take a position, and we've seen some taking a position, and that is courageous. And we need people with courage in politics, but who are also honest. But this Nicodemus approaches to politics, where 1 minute I'm holding a loudspeaker and howling, and then in the evening I take a different position. It should not be something that we encourage. But what I'm also saying is that the very demand that they make of their own, of the ANC, they themselves have not shown that they will take actually most of them are known for political intolerance within their own parties. Yet they expect another party to say, let us, as Gwede put it, that it is very unusual to have an army that is fighting another army and being dictated by an opposition. But what we can say is that politics is about expediency, and parties have a right to demand that you take a position, and if you are not able to take the position, resign. And there have been people who have actually done so.
Yes. Now, Professor, this is the fifth motion of no confidence against President Zuma since 2014, and all the previous 4 have actually failed. Why do you think the opposition is so persistent in, you know, constantly trying to have these motions filed, only to have them fail? I mean, what's the rationale behind that?
No, part of it is because the ANC is its own worst enemy. What the parties are saying, and they themselves have said that. We've seen the top leadership, we've seen members of the party coming out disagreeing. You've seen the alliance that is not where the center does not seem to hold. So they're saying this is a time for us to exploit. We've tried many times, and there's no reason why you would think that it may not succeed next time. I mean, the fact that it has failed a number of times does not mean some members may be sufficiently dishonest. And some of them, of course, you must understand that the ANC in itself is within a space where some people do not want the current president. And they will, being defeated at the branches, they try all sorts of things. This is why you saw some of them joining marches. You've seen memorials being used for other things. And the people who do that are the people who claim to love the ANC very much. But they also are willing to bring into dispute because some of them are driven by a personal vendetta. There's a score to settle. And you see some of those who had been out of politics now suddenly emboldened. You also see them not even willing to work with racists, with people who call black people baboons. But for them, it's okay as long as they can get rid of that person that they hate.
Well, just lastly, Professor, the 18th of April is about 7 days away. How soon can we expect to hear back from the Constitutional Court, considering that it is such a matter of priority for the country?
Well, I think the sense of, the sense of agency will be decided by the Concord. But ultimately, I do not see the Concord meeting and pronouncing on that very soon, because what it will mean that you are also putting pressure on the Concord. You come up with a deadline that you've put, then you want them to march according to your own deadline. And the courts do not like to be dictated, to be told that because I've created a crisis for myself, this thing must be, we are meeting on the 18th, and therefore you must pronounce yourself on that. It would be very surprising, unless if the court itself has been captured. Because let us not make a mistake that this notion of pretending that judges are neutral is all nonsense. Actually, it's a nonsense that is actually propagated in this country, precisely because those who use the courts, they want the courts to be captured in a particular narrative. So they would then exploit those judges who like to be liked by the media, because we have judges who are also very excitable. For as long as, and actually it's interesting that the current Chief Justice himself once said that there are judges, when they make judgments, they actually anticipate what the media is going to say about them. So you see that capturing. This is why in the past we found the Supreme Court of Appeal coming up with a judgment alluding not to what the judgment had said, but what the newspapers had said. So you could see that the judges are also ordinary people. They are actually influenced, and some of them have been making statements that are largely political, even on matters that are going to come before them. You can take a simple example where the Constitutional Court had said, for instance, it is okay to call the president a thief. So if you are saying that you are already making a pronouncement on something without even evidence, you're simply saying you come up with a notion of freedom of expression, but what you're also saying, you're sending a message that in terms of where we stand, we think this person is a thief. So if the case comes about a person, say somebody accused him of having stolen, you've already prejudiced yourself to a particular corner. So I think it's very important that even the courts and the judges must be told not to be too excited, and we expect them to at least remain true to the law.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. It's always a pleasure to have you in studio. That was Professor Sipho Seepe joining us there, just given some clarity regarding the UDM's application to the Constitutional Court for a secret ballot to be held on the 18th of April. And as well, the Parliament has also filed papers to oppose the UDM's application.